once again for yet another geography class for classes 9 ABC, and today, dear students, we will be doing the chapter that is insolation. Now, what do we mean by insolation? Insolation. Insolation basically in very simple term means the incoming solar radiation. When the sun shines, the sun's rays, heat and light fall on the earth. The rays that come to the earth is termed as insolation. So therefore, insolation means the incoming solar radiation. Okay. Now, basically if you see, the earth gets heated up through various processes. There are different ways in which the earth's atmosphere gets heated up. The process of transfer of heat. The first one which we have is called the radiation. The earth gets heated up by the process called as radiation. By the rays of the sun. When the sun shines, the sun's rays come and enter the earth's atmosphere and heats the earth. That is one way in which the earth gets heated up, through the process called as radiation. Then we have the second one that is called as convection. Convection is yet another process in which the earth gets heated. When the sun shines, when insolation takes place, the sun's rays enter into the earth's atmosphere and heats the earth. After the earth has been heated, the warm air starts to rise up. The warm air starts to rise up. And when this warm air starts to rise up, the different layers of the atmosphere are heated up. That is the second way in which the earth is heated up, through the process called as convection. Convection current. The warm air will rise up continuously and therefore heat the atmosphere and increase the temperature of the earth. Then we have the third one, that is the process called as conduction. Conduction. Transfer of heat through the process of contact. That means, because the layers of the atmosphere are all joined together, one above the other, when the lower layer gets heated up, that lower layer's heat is transferred to the upper layer. This upper layer's heat is transferred to the higher layer, and this layer's heat is transferred to the higher layer above that. So this way what happens, the atmosphere of the earth is heated up and the temperature of the earth increases. That is the process called as conduction, through the process of contact of the layers of the air with one another, whereby the heat is transferred from one layer to the other because they are in touch with each other. That is the process called as conduction. And then we have the fourth one, advection. Advection is basically the movement of air. When the warm air moves from a particular region to a colder region, the place where this warm air passes by, that particular area's temperature will slightly increase because the warm air is passing over that particular area. Similarly, if cold winds come from the Himalayas and blows over this region, Pakyong, the temperature of Pakyong will slightly go down. That is because of the wind. So this way also, the temperature of the places can be changed, can be altered. So these are the different ways in which the temperature of the earth increases, changes. Radiation, convection, conduction and advection. Okay. Now we will go to the next one, that is the factors affecting temperature. What are the factors which affect temperature? Factors affecting temperature. Factors affecting temperature. Now we know that the temperature of the earth is not the same all over the world. See, different places have different temperatures. Some places it's very warm, some places it's very cold, some places the temperature is moderate, some places the temperature is extreme. So there are various factors which is the main cause for the difference in temperature around the earth. The first one which we have is latitude. Latitudes. That means those latitudes which are near the lower region. For instance, the equator, see, 0 degrees. Equator. Then we go higher up. We go higher down. This is the North Pole and South Pole. See, the equatorial region is in the lowest latitude. And here the sun's rays are vertical. The sun's rays shine vertical over this region, because of which this region is very, very warm. But as you go higher up the latitude, the rays of the sun become slanting. See, the rays of the sun get slanting, because of which the temperature also gets colder and colder and colder. So lower the latitude, warmer the place or hotter the place, higher the latitude, the colder the place. That is because of the rays of the sun. In the equator, the rays of the sun are vertical, straight, because which it's very, very hot. But if you go higher up to the north or south, the rays of the sun become slanting, because of which the heat is also less. Therefore, the temperature also decreases. So that is how latitude is one factor which affects the temperature of the place. Lower the latitude, if you are in the lower latitudes, the temperature is very, very warm. But if you go higher up the latitudes, say 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 60, 70, the higher you go, the colder it gets. 90 degrees North Pole is very cold, very, very cold. Because here the sun's rays are very slanting. And the heat that reaches here is also very less. So that is how latitude does affect the temperature of a place, number one. Number two is altitude. How does the altitude also influence the temperature of a place? Now we know that the lapse rate, which states that for every 165 meters you climb up the mountain. See? If there is a mountain here, every 165 meters you climb up the mountain, temperature will go down by 1 degree centigrade. That is because of altitude. See? If you go to the plains, the temperature is very high, because of which it's very warm. But as you go higher up the mountain, as you climb up the mountain, the temperature gets lower and lower and lower and lower, colder and colder. That is because of altitude. That is because the lapse rate states that for every 165 meters you climb up the mountain, the temperature will go down by 1 degree centigrade. That is why the temperature is not the same all over the world. The places where it's flat and plain, there it's very warm and hot. But the places where there's a lot of mountains and Himalayas, hills, there the temperature is much colder, cooler. That is because of the altitude. So, therefore, altitude is also another factor which influences the temperature of a place. Okay, now let's see the next one, that is the distance from the sea. How does the distance from the sea also influence the temperature of a place? Now we know that if you go to the coastal areas, if you go to the sea coast, sea beaches, they have a very, very moderate temperature. It's not very hot and not very cold. The reason why this happens is because of the influence of the sea breeze and land breeze. During daytime, it's very hot in the land. But at that time, cold winds from the sea come blowing towards the land, whereby making it very cool during daytime in the land, in the sea beaches. Nighttime, whatever heat the land has absorbed, all that heat goes towards the sea in the form of land breeze. So because of the sea breeze during daytime and the land breeze during nighttime blowing towards the sea, the temperature is balanced. It experiences a moderate temperature. It's not very hot and not very cold. That is because it is near the sea. But again, if you see the places which are very far from the sea, distance from the sea is very far. For example, Pakyong is very far from the sea. So summertime it's very hot. Wintertime it's very, very cold. So they have extremes of temperature. Places which are very far from the sea have extremes of temperature. Either they are very hot or either they are very, very cold. That is because of the distance from the sea. Point number four, we have is ocean currents. Now, ocean currents is also another factor which influences the temperature of a place. Now, we know that there are warm ocean currents and cold ocean currents. Now, from the sea, if you see this is the equator again, this is the equator 0 degrees. From here, when the water moves up, see, these waters are warm waters. Because they are coming from the equator. Because the equator is the hottest region on the earth, the water here, the air here is warm. Therefore, the water here is also warmer compared to the other places. So therefore, when these waters move towards the poles, these waters are called as warm ocean currents. We know that the waters move in three forms. One is ocean currents, tides and waves. Okay, so here, when the waters from the equator moves up towards the poles, whichever coastal areas this ocean current passes by, those areas' temperature will slightly increase because these are warm waters. The air above the water is also warm. So therefore, as they pass through the various coastal areas, the temperature of those areas will slightly increase because the water is warm. Similarly, if cold ocean currents from North Pole, if cold ocean currents come down like this, these waters are very, very cold, which come from North Pole. So when these waters from the North Pole come down towards the equator, whichever coastal areas these waters pass by, the temperature decreases. The temperature becomes very cold because these waters are very, very cold, ice cold. So that is how the ocean currents also can change the temperature of a place. If it's a warm ocean current passing by through a particular region, the temperature increases. If it is a cold ocean current passing by through a particular area, again the temperature decreases. So this is the fourth factor which affects the temperature of a place. Then we have another one, that is winds. I didn't explain to you winds. It's same like ocean currents. If the winds from the warm region, from the deserts blow, and as they pass through the different areas, what happens? The temperature of the areas where these winds pass by will slightly increase. And I told you, when cold winds from the Himalayas blow over this region, Pakyong, the temperature of Pakyong will slightly go down. That is because of the winds. So winds also does change the temperature of a place. They can either increase or decrease depending on its temperature. If it's a very warm wind, the temperature will increase. If it's a very cold wind, the temperature will decrease. Number 6 we have is slope of the land. Slope of the land is also another factor which influences the temperature of a place. Now if you go to the North Pole, if you see in the North Pole, suppose this is the equator, this is North Pole, this is South Pole, this is the mountains here, here the mountains here. See, in the North Pole, the south facing slope. The south facing slope is warmer because the sun's rays fall on this region here. See, the sun's rays fall here. Therefore, the south facing slope of the hill is warmer compared to the north facing slope. This is in the rain shadow. It's in the North Pole. Here the sunlight does not reach here, because of which it's very, very cold. Similarly here, see, now the sun's rays reach here, reach this place. So this area becomes very warm. But again here, this back portion of the back, the leeward side, here the sun's rays do not reach here, because of which it's very cold. So the slope of the land is also another factor which influences the temperature of a place. If the slope of the land is facing towards the sun, the temperature will be warm. And if the slope of the land is facing away from the sun, then the temperature will be low. So this is the factor which influences the temperature of a place. So this is the end of this chapter. We have done very selective studies based on the syllabus, revised syllabus that has been given to us from the council. So this is all we have to do today, dear students. Study at home, do take care of yourselves and prepare well for your exams. Thank you so much. Have a good day.